What's going on, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. It's time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. Let's get into the books I read this week. Starting over in DC, we have Batman Dark Age Book 6. We have the All Reds on the art and Mark Russell on the story. So the best way I can describe this book is it's like an Elseworld Batman, but it's like a Grand Design version of that. Now, if you're not familiar with Grand Design versions, basically it's the entire history of the character truncated down to just a few issues. So you get a lot of information very, very quickly. The important details are all still there, but it's reimagined because it's an Elseworld story. So you have Batman learning the tricks of the trade through Ra's al Ghul, but through Vietnam, through some like secret commando unit versus how we know today. So you get all those familiar beats as you would, but they're twisted a little bit, which is really what makes this book stand out. So definitely check it out for that reason alone. If you're not completely sick of Batman yet, you have all these just amazing moments through this series, reimagining moments. You get a lot of familiar faces. We get Dick Grayson here. We have Catwoman. We have Joker. We have the Justice League. We have Pariah, too, kind of pulling the strings in the background. And there's some really cool twists and turns at the end of this issue. So I would definitely recommend picking this like Elseworld Grand Design style book up. I had so much fun reading it. All Red's art on here has been incredible. So if you're into that style artwork, if you like Mark Russell's storytelling, a little bit of satire, you like the Batman character, you want to see what that Batman is like in a different reality, man, this is the book for you. Make sure to check it out. Next up is Ultimate Batman issue number 2. So we have Snyder and Dragata on this one. I liked issue number 1. I think I preferred Wonder Woman the best of the 3 that came out, but Batman was probably my close second on here. The perspective of this book is not of Batman, it's of another characters, and I don't really want to spoil it for you, but we know this character from main continuity, and it's interesting to see that perspective portrayed front and center inside this book. So you do have a familiar Batman character doing Batman things, taking on these secret societies. We have, of course, our traditional little aquarium battle right here, taking on this like group of gang members called the Party Animals. We're understanding a little bit more of that. You know, some of our heroes are aligned on the fact that they want to take out this Party Animal gang, and we're going to be teaming up a little bit here to take them out. A lot of familiar villain faces in this book, but they're not playing the roles we're used to. It's kind of like an underground poker game, and it's really cool to see everyone interacting in that way. And of course, this book is not without its twists and turns as well. Amazing artwork by Dragata in here. Interesting storytelling. And yeah, Absolute Batman continues to be pretty strong. Let me know what you guys thought, though, down below. All right, we're going to go over to Marvel. We have Uncanny X-Men issue number 5. Gail Simone on this one, and it's the only new Marvel book, really, that I've been enjoying enough to keep reading. So we're going to be plugging away at this, seeing what's going on. And this is pretty much the conclusion of the first arc in a way right here. We're introduced to a new evil character. Her name is Sarah. She has some history with Xavier. She had this understanding of how the events of their relationship and her being pregnant and raising a child went. And now she's kind of blaming this tragedy in her life on Xavier and taking it out on all of his children or mutants. So he's attacking them right now. What's really cool about this one is it's focused on our main X-Men characters, ones we know and love, ones we can easily identify, we're really familiar with, and we're throwing in a couple of new mutants in a way in here too. Interesting power sets, and they're taking on this dark force right now. It's like Sarah, this demon, and all of her little henchmen versus our team. And this is really a rebirth of Rogue right here, getting her into her own and stepping up and just defeating this ultimate evil. And it was a really, really fun ride. Interior artwork is just doing it for me as well. Lots of amazing coloring and just great action scenes, team up scenes, things like that. So, you know, it's doing a really good job of keeping my interest for sure, especially among all the rest of the X books that have come out. The only one that's still on my pull list, to be honest with you. Let me know if you're reading it down below. All right, continuing Marvel, we have Amazing Spider-Man issue number 61. Joe Kelly on this one, Ed McGuinness, which is the reason why I'm jumping on this book. And we're featuring Doom right here on the cover and in the interiors. So Doom is now the Sorcerer Supreme. You can go back and read Blood Hunt to figure out how that all happened. But he's going around right now kind of like delegating these lesser tasks to different people. And he has a perfect one for Spider-Man, I guess. He's going to imbue Spider-Man with some of the power cosmic, I suppose. And he's going to be taking on these different trials of like the Sidorak, right? So we have all these different demons that are going to be coming in, and he has to be the defender and figure it all out. So he's imbued with a bunch of different magical elements and whatnot. He's also equipped with the humor and wit that Spider-Man has, and he's going to be putting all that together to take on these ancient evils before they destroy Earth. So that's exactly what we got going on in here. I think the story was handled fairly well. I would say like the front half of this is just classic Spider-Man bullcrap, where it's like, I can't juggle my life and my responsibilities, and everyone seems to be disappointed in me, but I can't help but stop the guy from taking the old lady's purse instead of going to so-and-so's birthday party or whatever it is. So it's like, we have to be reminded about that. That's a main part of Spider-Man. But I guess I don't get angry when Wolverine goes off on his own or Batman loses his money and what it does whatever, you know what I mean? So I guess everybody has their little annoying bits about them, but I don't know, something about Spider-Man. I don't know, but issue number 61 is out right now. Not too bad. It's not really something I'm super excited for, but I thought I'd try it out, see where it's going to go. Interiors are pretty good. Story's okay. I don't know. What'd you guys think? Let me know down below. All right, continuing Marvel, we have a new one, Psylocke issue number 1. Alyssa Wong is on this one, and I thought I wanted to check this one out just because I feel like Psylocke is one of the more interesting characters in the new X-Men relaunch. I'm reading X-Men proper right now, and it's boring me to death, but Psylocke is a cool character, so I wanted to check this out, especially after flipping through this book and seeing the interiors, the action scenes, the coloring. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to enjoy this book, even if the story happens to be weak. And it's not necessarily a weak story. It's a pretty compelling story because Psylocke is on the journey right now to like save some young kids from being sold off in some kind of weird mutant auction underground scene. And so that's basically what we're doing right here. She's infiltrating this base right now. She gets a tip that there are some shady things going on. She gets there and she realizes that people are pushing this drug that like brings out random mutant abilities in people. But not only that, there are some kids up for auction and she can't have that. So she's jumping into action right here, taking out the powers that be and, trying to save the day. So action-packed issue. Psylocke is portrayed really well. The coloring and the art is spectacular in here. And, it's a really cool action-packed issue. So Psylocke issue number 1, pretty solid book. Let me know if you read it down below. All right, jumping over to Dynamite Comic, we have Space Ghost issue number 7. David Papose on this one and Jonathan Lau. So I love Space Ghost. Every issue that comes out, it's action-packed. I love the art in here and the coloring and everything. The action, the relationship between the cast of characters is like perfect. It's a great, great blend of a nostalgic character, great world building, great character building, and it's just action-packed. So you will not go wrong with Space Ghost, even if you're not familiar with the characters themselves. This one's featuring Creature King. Our team has crash landed on this planet right now where the creatures, the pets, the animals have evolved the ability to use language and to comprehend things and build society. And they're actually using the technology also to like de-evolve humans and throw them into the pits and use them for entertainment. That's what's going on inside of here. But of course we have Blip on the team. Blip has that same thing happen to him. He becomes way more advanced. Our other team members kind of de-evolve a little bit and Blip has to be the hero to save the day. And it is handled really, really well. Very emotional, like I said before. Great team dynamics, great dialogue. It doesn't feel campy or cheesy or anything. And he just does a great job of making this feel legit and giving the reader a great experience. So Space Ghost issue number 7 continues to be very, very strong. Highly recommended. Check it out. All right, going over to Image Comics, we have Precious Metal issue number 6. We have Darcy Van Polgees, Ian Bertram, Matt Hollingsworth, and Hassan on the letters. If you want a masterclass on how to appropriately build a world, build dynamic characters, have a story unfold slowly, introducing new ideas and new questions, but answering ones from previous issues, and unraveling perfectly from start to finish, this is the book for you to study. And beyond that, it actually enhances the reader's experience or changes the perspective a little bit or the vibe you got from Little Bird. So if you read that story, you have some things that you learn in here which changes everything about that story too. So it makes you want to go back, reread this entire story, go back and read Little Bird, and it's just an amazing reader experience. So I don't want to give away too many details. I will do a full breakdown of this like we did for Little Bird coming up in the near future. All I can say is make sure the collected edition, which comes out next year, is on your pull list. You can get it through Amazon, Barnes & Noble right now. Make sure it's on the pull list. Make sure you read Little Bird as well. This book was spectacular. Let me know if you read it. All right, we got a couple Energon books. We're going to start with Duke issue number 1. Joshua Williamson. We have Tom Riley on this one as well. Jordy Belair, of course. I will say that if you prefer Duke over some of the other ones, this book reads very much like Duke in the way that it's paced, the way that it's drawn, and just the way that the story flows in general. Now, of course, the cool thing about G.I. Joe is we have already been through Cobra Commander. We've been through Destro. We've been through Duke, and we've been through Scarlet. We have a lot of these characters that we have a good foundation for now. They're in a different space, right? They're all teamed up. And this is the book where we bring all of our forces together and we start going at each other. So this is a really cool book where they've done a lot of the buildup. Now this is the payoff of all of that. It's kind of like the MCU back in the day, right? They took their time, they built out interesting teams, they set up a status quo, and now we're going to be getting into the nitty gritty. That's exactly what we see inside of here. Now, I will say, I think some of the art in the other books like Transformers and even Destro kind of spoiled us. There are cool moments in here for sure, but I think generally speaking, it was a little bit weak on that perspective. But There are some really cool action set pieces in here. We got a great cast of characters. Like, we're in a position though where we just don't know how the good guys could possibly prevail. We're completely outnumbered, completely outgunned, and we're in a horrible situation towards the end of this book with even some possible casualties. So we have a lot to overcome in just this first issue alone, but it was big, it was grand, it was wonderful. G.I. Joe issue number 1. Let me know if you read it down below. All right, next Image book is Transformers issue number 14. Of course, we have Daniel Warren Johnson on here. We have Jason Howard and Mike Spicer, of course, on the colors. This issue right here is completely focused on Starscream. So if you're into that character, you want to know exactly what's going on with him right now, since basically his fall from grace in the previous arc. This is all this issue is all about. He teams up with some humans in this book that do some involuntary modifications, we'll just say, and it's pretty epic, and they cover that pretty quickly in this book. But it's basically a whole issue around Starscream kind of like building his ranks again, getting the upper hand, and doing the best he can do with this modification that he was given. So if you're in the Starscream, you're going to love this issue for sure. Gives you a lot of cool imagery in here, a lot of amazing scenes, just some over-the-top action, things like that, and things you've come to know from Jason Howard. He's like the third artist jumping in here, and he's doing a spectacular job. You know, Mike Spicer being that constant on the art side, that really does help, all being led by Daniel Warren Johnson. So Transformers issue number 14 continues to be strong. Pretty shocking, cool moments in this issue. Let me know if you read it. Let me know your thoughts. Then the last book we read this week was from Tom King, Billiquist Evely, and Matt Lopes. We have Dark Horse's Helena Windhorn, issue number 6. So this is the conclusion of the first chapter of a, quote, epic saga that Tom King mentioned on his Instagram the other day. So I'm excited for more issues of this book in the near future. Again, this book was very much the same as many of the other issues, where it further explores this mystical land. A lot of cool beings in here. We don't know how this world works or who all the characters are, but every single issue seems to blow that open a little bit more, and we get a little bit more taste about how surreal this entire environment is, and this like other world is as well. So really cool world building is done inside of this series in general. Now I will say there was this meta commentary in this story where the story is being told in a retrospective way. So this caregiver is like telling this reporter her journey and things like that, the things that she's witnessed, and there's a big not conspiracy, but there's a lot of mystery around the author's death and things like that, like Helen's dad's death, and all the properties he's created, all these books and interviews and all this stuff, all this physical media is kind of being shuffled around, being sold off in estate sales, trying to be collected by certain people, things like that. And like these characters, these stories, these worlds will live on through those artifacts, right? When you read them, that person will be kind of like introduced to the entire world, and like the story will relive itself through there forever, right? So there's this little meta commentary that I could have either used a little bit more of or none of that at all, right? Like it's a weird, delicate balance. I could have just lived in this world forever and it would have been just fine. But it's kind of like a never-ending story kind of a thing. We have the real world, but as soon as we dive into that book, there's this whole fantasy world that unveils itself. So I'm still trying to like unpack all that, figure out what all that means, but it was kind of cool to have that element in here, I guess. But other than that, man, I cannot wait for future installments of Helena Windhorn. Beautifully drawn for sure, really cool characters, lots of great action pieces as well. So make sure to check this out in collected format when it comes out. I think a hardcover is on the way. Make sure to check it out if you haven't. Let me know if you read it. But all right, guys, that's all I read this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know down below what you picked up and what your favorite books of the week were. While you're down there, like, subscribe, share, hit that bell notification to be alerted whenever I put out new videos. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the comments.